Hello, Gamescom. We're here on Saturday now. God, I've lost track of all the days. And we're here with our Battle Royale Devs versus Fans Part 2, I believe we've called it.
It's Part 2. Really, really good, yeah.
And, you know, we're here. I'm Mark Anlath-Humes, the English Community Manager, and beside me is...
Jan Bronstehl, the German Community Manager. And we're here to show you some meaty PvP action.
Meaty PvP action. I've never heard it called that before. Yeah, so some meaty PvP action. We have a number of our developers, and they're going to be facing off one of our EU PvP guilds as well today. So, and one thing I'm going to make clear, Jan, and this is for all the Redditors out there, by the way, this isn't our PvP team who are playing. We actually have a senior content designer, Megan Starks, who some of you may have seen on the stream yesterday. We also have our content designer, Morgan Brown there. Thank you, Morgan. That was awful of me. So Morgan Brown. And we also have our French community manager, Yumukon, CRB Yumukon, who will be playing on his Stalker as always. And against the devs, and the guild that they're going to be playing against is Immortal Noctis, a guild on Hazak in the EU. And actually, Megan asked us to do a little shout out to Izgu, who actually helped her set up a really good engineer build as well. So thank you very much for that, by the way.
So yeah, this stream will really be fun, and I mean, if you're playing WildStar on the European servers, Hazak is literally our PvP hub. You can see that most of the top players in PvP, they are on Hazak. That's their place to go.
Absolutely.
And these guys, they know how to play it. We have one of the best spell slingers in the world in this team. And what we said is that I'm Team Carbine here.
You're Team Carbine today.
I'm Team Carbine here, and it's just all about the fun. We just want to show it off. We want to show it off to a new audience, which doesn't play WildStar yet, but it's not about showing you how to play the game on a top-notch level.
Absolutely. So what we're going to do is if our dev team can queue up, and what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be playing 3v3 arena. So this is basically a 3v3 match. We've got I think Team Carbine is an engineer, a spell slinger, and a stalker.
That's right.
And then we have a medic, a stalker, and a warrior today. Excellent. So I'm going to know the warrior abilities. I won't get them wrong like I did with the medic last PvP stream.
And we don't have an Esper in here, so you can't ask me about this.
No, I can't this time.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we're going to get our dev team to queue up, and as soon as we're ready, we're going to switch over to their point of view. And so the way that our arenas work, if you're not familiar with WildStar, is they kind of work on a spawn counter, really. You basically have a number of spawns that are shared across the team, and every time somebody dies, you obviously lose one as you call in a respawn or a reinforcement. So if you've got a particularly bad player on the team, they're going to take up a lot of your spawns, and you're going to run out faster. Equally, if you've got a good healer and they can prevent somebody from dying, you're actually saving yourself a team resource there, which is really important for the tactics.
Yes, it's mainly the thing that if you have a character which can't utilize his skills at all, you can actually push him back, tell him not to revive, then you don't lose tickets if he dies. Of course, you're missing a player, but at the same time, sometimes this can give you an advantage.
Absolutely.
But I have to say, looking into your team's composition, that's really, if I'm going into the PvP forums, one of the things that we know and that you see a lot. And what we see here is like the start of the match. We see Megan actually getting stunned in this particular reason, and we told the team, your team, to actually keep it easy, don't go too fast. So that's why you don't see kills yet, but I figure now.
So there we go. First death does go to Team Carbine there. And for those of you wondering, we've got Morgan playing quite close up, so you can see a lot of the action that's going on. And then here you'll see that the res counter will go down there by 1, which leaving our Carbine team with less respawns. So the Spell Slinger is actually playing more of a healing build this time, trying to heal up our Stalker, played by Yumukon. And it looks like we've got a bit of Stalker on Stalker action there. We've got a couple of the Warrior using his grapple to a good effect to kind of pull them away. And it looks like they're trying to focus down on the healer.
Oh, and that was a nice stun that he just saw there.
Absolutely.
So he just literally stunned them. And what we are seeing is that your team is actually focusing on Yumukon right now. He's trying to get away, but he's already low on health. And our Spellslinger is trying to heal him. But because he's running away, he can't get into the target. And he's really, really struggling with it, and it's down right now.
Absolutely. And what we're seeing as well is the Warriors making really good use of the ability Power Link there. With this is a kind of a group ability. It buffs the damage by a really good percentage, especially if you invest ability tier points in it. And if you can pop that right at the right moment for some really good burst damage, you can take down a light armor class like an Esper or a Spellslinger, or even a Stalker who does wear medium armor. You can take them down very, very quickly.
Yes, and the team.
So if we can switch over to the engineer's cameras, as we can get another one. So if we can switch to the second camera, that'd be really good. We can get another view in here.
Yes.
So there we go. So now we're looking at this from the engineer's point of view.
And the engineer, what you can see is he's literally the only one who can play right now, because Yumukon is actually trying to figure it out. And we have technial problems. I can see him standing there not being happy about this kind of stuff, but I figure he will get into the match quite soon. This thing is, in my opinion, done anyways, because our team has no response at all left, like Team Carbine is defeated. And what you can see there is that they're just trying to tank. They just try to make it slow, but that's gone now as well. And what we see is what I actually expected.
Absolutely,
You can see them actually focusing on Yumukon, because Yumukon is known for being a decent stalker.
He's a good PvP player, absolutely. He's well known for his stalker skills. And you know, this is a really decent PvP guild who are playing in the game. I can just hear Megan's comments in the background of looking at the damage meters there. So what we're going to do is these guys are just going to queue up again. Hopefully we can get the technical issues with Yumukon fixed. But as you saw, I mean, as we were saying about this is a really skilled PvP guild. They know what they're doing. And you know, they're employing tactics that you would see in a kind of typical arena match. You know, they're focusing on the best player or the healer first, and then they're kind of working on the heavier armor classes who do take a bit more damage, but don't necessarily put out as much burst as we're used to seeing.
Yes, and the thing is that if you're playing PvP, it's literally the thing that you normally tend to have two options. First is, like, you can focus all on the enemy healer, and you can try to take him out, because if the team has no heal at all, of course it's easier to take them down. In this case, our opponents, I'm saying this as Team Carbine, they actually figured out that the worst enemy is not the heal, it's actually the damage which could come from Yumukon. And since the Stalker, he has abilities to boost up his armor and things, but at the same time, it can be quite easy to kill him, and that's what they're doing.
And normally, you know, if you're taking a damage build Stalker, normally you're kind of foregoing more of the tanky abilities. Because the interesting things, for those of you who aren't familiar with WildStar, is our Stalker, who is kind of more your typical assassin rogue class, can also be a tank as well. They're much more kind of versatile, and they're very nimble, and you know, a lot of their tanking is focused on self-healing and prevention. And so we're going in here, and actually Team Carbine are actually making good use of the column there, because a lot of telegraphs will be blocked by like line of sight, so you can actually kind of use the walls and the columns to avoid a lot of damage. And actually what we're seeing is a pretty good team fight going on right now, Jan. You know, both teams are kind of bringing it together. We've already got the Spellslinger down, they've taken the healer down, and instead it's now down to our engineer, who's a heavier armor class, and the Stalker, who's trying desperately to get away. And it does look like that the enemy Stalker over there was on extremely low health, though.
It was at extremely low health, and actually they were struggling for a time. The main problem that our team over there has, and that's actually a thing because of the coordination between each other, is that they don't make good use of the room, because what you could see from your team's end is that they actually ran away. They hid for a second, and we see that our team is actually struggling to follow them, to keep ahead of them. And now they're really working this ball pack kind of thing, which actually supports the medic in his actions.
Absolutely. Especially with the Warrior's Power Link in play as well, you know, using that sort of short-range damage boost when they need it most.
But I have to say I was actually quite surprised, because for like 20 seconds it looked like our Team Carbine had a good start.
And they've got a kill, you know, there is a kill down for Team Carbine. So.
There's a kill down for them, yeah.
Absolutely.
So that was a good use.
We should also probably make the point as well, by the way, that everybody's playing on unfamiliar equipment. Team Carbine are playing on German keyboards, which I'm sure they're not quite used to.
Well, WASD is the same everywhere.
That's true, that's true.
But I think it would be awesome if we could actually see our Spellslinger again on the stream.
If we switch to the second monitor.
Quite interesting to see that. And the main thing, what we are seeing in this whole team composition, is that your guys, they're playing with our Team Carbine because they know where to stand. They show them what to do.
That's a good tether though there. They managed to kind of pull the Warrior back for a little bit. And that's, I think, if Team Carbine want to get some kills in here, what they really need to try and do is try and separate the Immortal Noctis. They need to use things like tether and pulls and knockbacks just to try and separate them out a little bit, stop them from, you know, using like the medic has a lot of field abilities. I'm sure the medic's probably running with empowering probes as well to try and boost his teammates.
Yeah, the main problem with the whole thing is that they are just not focusing on one character at a time. They're currently trying to actually just work with AoE damage, and the way how to win in an arena is the timing, is the burst damage.
Absolutely.
The best thing you should actually do is, if you have a really good team, they know that one is stunning the healer, the other guys are actually making damage on the one.
And especially, you know, if Immortal Noctis are running with a warrior there, the warrior has a lot of CC abilities. They've got knockdowns, they've got stuns, they've got grapples, they've got blinds. You know, they can constantly keep that CC pressure on an important class like a healer, like, you know, an important role like a healer, and then leave the damage to the other groups.
Yes, that's right. And at the same time, what Team Carbine should do in this situation is actually to regroup. You tend to jump in one-on-one, and you can actually take your time. You can regroup. You can go in there.
Wait up on the top ledge, come down, full force.
Full force, and then you actually have a spot. I mean, now this match is gone, it will be the second win for your team, but at the same time, I hope that in next match we will actually see them regrouping, going in there, focusing on a side, like for example on the left side in the arena, to actually make the difference, to give a tactical advantage to themselves, because currently they're just running away and at the same time they're dying. That's not what I would do.
But it does take quite a long time to take that engineer down. You know, Megan's wearing heavy armor, you know, they're gonna having to bring their full force against it.
She's tanky, and actually, so you can't hear them, but we can actually hear what Megan and Morgan are saying, and Megan was really proud because she doubled her damage.
And that's something to be proud of, I think.
Yes,
you know,
that's
absolutely.
really nice.
So yeah, we're seeing some improvement here, but I really think, you know, watching for Yumukon to engage with the Stalker, you know, they've got such, with Pounce, they've got such a good engagement range, they can just get in, target something, and then if you can bring something, you know, if you've got, say with the Spellslinger, you know, obviously our Spellslinger's running heals, but they've got so much roots and snares as well, you can apply those, get the Engineer in there, they've got things like, you know, Bolt Caster, which can do so much damage if you put it in the right place, and then they can just burst somebody down and then move on to the next target.
Yes, that would, in the ideal world, that would be the best way to go to. And we have to say that WildStar is a game which you play like in TeamSpeak, Ventrilo, or wherever you are. You talk to each other. These guys over here, they're currently not talking to each other.
Absolutely. We've got the Immortal Noctis guys are all stood next to each other. You know, they're within at least shouting range, whereas Team Carbine, unfortunately, are not. And I think it's really interesting, you know, mentioning there that, you know, things like Ventrilo and TeamSpeak are so important, because that's not just for PvP, that actually applies to PvE as well.
Yes. And
it looks like we're engaging there, and they're just having a little bit of a dance up on the top before they launch into the game. And this time they're actually kind of working. This time they're actually targeting that individual character.
I would love to see Megan making more use of her sprint ability in this showcase, because she's currently tending to actually shoot up her skills all the time. But if she's chasing someone, I would rather go in, use my sprint ability. You have a limited amount of sprint, but it's recovering quite fast, and to get there.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer to use my sprint for when I need to, you know, often when I need to get out of a situation rather than get into. But then I tend to play a warrior. We've got a lot of gap closers like grapple and leap as well.
Oh my gosh, and leap is one of the most awesome skills in the game. You get it quite early in the game because it's the first skill that you use to go and aggro someone, and you literally jump with your sword in both hands over your head.
And actually, we're seeing from an interesting thing from Morgan there. He used Void Slip, which John Weissman, our Bitwise, our UI and Master of Add-ons developer, was
lead
using.
Client Engineer.
Lead Client Engineer, that's right. Thank you for correcting me on the title. But the Void Slip's a great ability. It's a great get-out ability. You know, you can pop that, you vanish from all the enemies, you kind of enter this quasi-real dimension where you can still see the world, but all the players disappear, everything goes golden, and you can use that to get behind line of sight breakers, you can use that to try and escape. It's a really useful ability to have for the Spellslinger, who is, you know, does take a lot of damage. Same with Gate that we just saw there, that short-range teleport. And the interesting thing that is anybody that it hits on the way, it will stun them as well. So, you know, you can actually get away from somebody and stun an enemy on the way as well.
Yeah, but you can see that good job. I mean, actually, your team, it took them way longer to kill our Carbine guys in the first match. And one of the reasons for that was also that they were focusing on Yumukon. Now they actually changed it, and they're taking out Morgan with his Spellslinger all the time.
Yeah.
He can't do anything, and I don't want to curse on
They're locking him down. And that's where things like Void Slip and Gate are so important. And as we just saw it there, he just popped it again, trying to get away. But it's also the ability, like, you know, these guys are pretty good PvP pros. They know to expect this kind of thing. They can they're going to make a decision and say, well, we reckon he's going to go behind this pillar.
Yeah, but here you have seen something, because their warrior was tappered in this match, and Morgan was standing next to him. He could attack him at the maximum of the tappering range, because the tapper, it holds you at a point, but you can still move in a really close range.
You need to break the tether mine before you can actually get away. Which
one dodge rule would have saved his life in
this
moment. But now I think they're regrouping, actually. Unfortunately, I can't see the status of the match right now, because the overlays are not showing it.
Morgan's decided to have a little bit of a dance. I think he's feeling a little bit given up. So they're going to engage again.
They're going to engage again. Yumukon will.
Immortal Noctis are just waiting. Well. They're waiting on top of one of the walls.
And I can see Yumukon typing. He's actually typing to his team right now.
Sharing some chat. Sharing some tactics.
The Esper, their heals.
So that would. I think they're playing an Orin Esper, actually. I think.
They're playing an Orin Esper, and she does quite a great job. We had an Esper healer for Team Carbine
the last time.
And the main advantage of Espers is that you actually have a lot of skills which don't require a telegraph. Yes. You have a lot of skills where you point and click. And so that makes it really easy for you to actually heal multiple targets which are spread up all the time.
So we've got another sad defeat for Team Carbine, unfortunately. So Morgan did do an extreme amount of healing. It was very good. They're definitely improving on their stats. And then we do, you know, there are definitely, there's some kills there as well. We did see some kills for Team Carbine.
We did see 2 kills.
2 kills from Yumukon.
From Yumukon. Yes, that's really not a surprise at all, to be honest.
Absolutely not.
And yeah, I think we have time for another match there.
Absolutely.
While we are actually checking it, what you can see in this match is actually that our guys are progressing. When you start playing PvP in WildStar, you at first you feel lost. The main thing is that when I first jumped into PvP, and I had to play a lot of PvP in games, is that I was like, oh my gosh, it's so colorful. But the more you play it, like after 3, 4, 5 matches, you start to figure out how it works. You start to see the pattern, and that's actually the moment when you can jump in and when you can enjoy the PvP the most.
And it's worth mentioning. And it's worth mentioning for our Twitch viewers as well, if they're not familiar with WildStar, is that you know, you can turn off some of this stuff. Like if you know, you can turn down the opacity on telegraphs. You can turn off certain types of telegraphs, like healing telegraphs, for example, or things like that. So you know, a lot of people don't seem to know that as well. So you know, if people see this as kind of a chaotic mess, you know, there.
Yes, our options are really heavy. You just saw our console wrapper, because this is like a developer build which we're showing right here. That's why you sometimes see add-on errors on the stream as well. It's just the case that we didn't want to use a live build on the live servers, because it's always quite strange. And that was a nice tapper over here.
Yeah, I think Immortal Noctis are getting a little bit cocky. I think they're trying to take all 3 Carbine devs on with 1 player now. I think
you need your challenges.
Yeah, I think that they decided to you know, step it up and kind of see how much they can take on themselves.
Yeah, and I mean, we all knew what would happen today. So it's actually quite nice to see some optional targets.
Yeah.
And that it's not only the case, like for example, if you play PvE in WildStar, if you're in a raid or something like this, you tend to have optional targets, which you can accomplish. We should actually include this as an achievement title or something into the game, I think.
You beat 3 players without the other 2 players leaving the ledge, the safety of the ledge.
By the way, we talked about telegraphs. One of the questions that we tend to get is also whether there is a colorblind mode.
Yes, and there is. We have multiple colorblind modes.
We have multiple colorblind modes. We actually work together with the community to test them, and we are constantly improving them and looking at them. So if you're colorblind, it's not a problem. You can play WildStar.
It's we did see a couple of like really nice moves there from Immortal Noctis. They kind of had this one-on-one, like they had the warrior taking on 3 players at once, and then the other 2 rush in true gank style. The warrior grapples 2 people towards him, and then there's just a mass of explosions and blades and claws and everything else.
Yes. So Megan is now jumping into the fight again.
She's actually using her exosuit this time. So this is the engineer's innate. And this is probably one of my favorite abilities in WildStar. I don't play an engineer, but I would play one simply because of this ability. They actually summon a mech suit onto their body. So they have this cool robot exosuit, and you can either have it in the tank mode or the damage mode. And the damage mode obviously increases your damage output and increases your volatility gain, which is the engineer's resource that you can see there filling up along the bar. And their spammer, their general ability will build that up, and then their other abilities will obviously, take up some of that volatility.
Yes, and so what Megan is currently doing, we see Megan here in the stream, is that she's actually trying to work and to get out of the warrior. At the same time, I think she got some problems with her keyboard because she's just walking to walls, and I'm looking at her right now.
She's laughing. Yeah, she's smiling and laughing, and the arms are raised in a shrug.
Yes. So what they're now trying to do is they just lost all of their tickets, so this match will be over soon as well. And Megan is actually waiting currently. I think she should actually jump down. The best thing for her.
No, she's just giving us a lovely view of the battle, Jan. That's how it's working.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice.
Giving us a nice cinematic view of it. Oh, and there's a bit of low damage there. If you can keep that DPS up, we might be able to get a kill in here for Team Carbine. But they got away, sadly. And now it's just down to the lonely engineer, max volatility in the exosuit, but you just can't do anything. When you've got 3 people all loading, unloading CCs, there's not a lot you can do, sadly. Morgan is very proud of his healing.
Morgan is really proud of his healing, and that's the good thing if you're a healer in PvP. If your team loses, it can be the case that you're the best healer because you had to heal more.
Of course.
Also, maybe there is a damage issue here. I wouldn't blame the engineer about it, but maybe there is one. So, I think we have time for another last match.
I think we should definitely get one more match in.
Let's get one more match in. And let's give, I would actually say we have to give Megan a go what she has to do. Do you want to do that?
You can, by all means, please do, Jan.
Okay. Okay, so Megan, what we would like you to do is actually run through the arena once, in a 36 degrees mode to show us the great arena, and then surprise one of the guys from the back, so he can't see you. Like one of your enemies from behind, surprise him, attack him while he doesn't see you. You can do that. She said she can't do that. I'm pretty sure she can.
We believe in you.
We'll see that.
So let's get this match going.
Okay, that will be an interesting one.
Absolutely.
So Megan is preparing for her challenge. All the other guys will run out on the left side, I think. And it looks like Megan could come from the right. I personally like this arena.
Yes,
but I have to say...
I was going to point this out as well.
Yeah, there is another arena coming.
There is another arena. We've been showing it off to certain press sites while we've been here at Gamescom.
Yes.
I love the look of the new arena, and it's really interesting. Again, it plays with the kind of, and this is what I think is really interesting, a good arena map has different levels of verticality. So there we go, Megan's showing, she's showing off the arena for us, and you can kind of see all around here the walls and things like that, the enemy kind of ledge there. And this is quite small compared to the newer one that we've been seeing with the press sites.
Yes, but I really, really like the artwork. I mean, normally when you engage into the battle, you don't have the time to look up, but it's really, really nice. And now Megan is complaining about her armor.
No, the Immortal Noctis have decided to remove their gear and have a streaking PvP match.
That's epic. These are British gentlemen.
These are British. Well, there's not just British. The guild leader, Aiko, is a British fellow, but the rest of them are. They're all from all over the EU, from Nordics and Germany and everywhere else. They are an EU-EN guild on Hazak. But yeah, these guys have. I think that they're feeling a little bit guilty. Maybe they're trying to offer up, like an olive branch here by deciding to do this arena in nothing but their underwear. And you can see here, and now it's looking a little bit more even. We're seeing the group kind of come in, and they're getting to use their abilities.
We should include a handicap mode into the game. So what we normally have in WildStar, by the way, if you're playing the arenas properly, we have a rating system.
Yes.
So what happens is that you jump in and you start with a low rating, but you continue to progress. And so usually after a certain time, you tend to play against players which are on your skill level. this match over here would be, which rating would you give our devs?
I mean, Mukon's going to bring it up a little bit.
Yes, yes.
But maybe 1,400, maybe 1,200.
You're optimistic. I think we're in the 1,000 to 1,200 area.
I can't talk too much. My arena rating's not going to be much better, unfortunately. I don't mind jumping into a BG, but arenas, I'm not going to be the best player around. So
yeah, I have to admit that currently I don't have a proper PvP team because they all tend to play all over the place. So I only go in with like pickup groups, which is not that much of fun. So
now, one thing I should point out is that, you know, Aiko, the leader of Immortal Noctis, who's playing the medic, he is keeping his armor on while the rest of his guild is going naked. So I think his guild's showing him up a little bit here. You know, he's still having to rely on armor.
Yeah, I think that shows.
And we're actually, you know, things are currently even. We have 5 tickets on both sides. It's just the sight of the pink-haired Oren or the white-haired Oren running around in nothing but his like tiny boxer shorts, just decimating sort of Morgan and Megan and then Mukon is quite funny, I must admit.
Yeah, and I think...
And that was an excellent stun there. We got a nice group stun off there. It hit all 3 of the players briefly.
It was really, really nice, and at the same time, Megan actually had the opportunity to put all her damage on the armorless soldiers.
Exactly, which is why we saw a couple of, you know, we saw a downed ticket there. We saw a downed Immortal Noctis. And it's probably worth mentioning, for those of you who are new to WildStar, we actually have something we call breakout gameplay. So unlike other MMOs, where a stun may just reduce your hit chance by 25% or something similar, our stun actually, you know, you can break out of it by pressing a random key, direction key, to kind of fill up a bar, or you might be blinded and the screen will turn black, but you can see a slight, you know, thin strip of visibility and you can work around it. Or my favorite one, which is actually disorientate, which actually remaps your movement keys. So instead of moving forwards, you end up going backwards, or instead of going left, you go right. And that's amazing if you're playing it out in the open world and you manage to pull off a disorientate on somebody who's halfway through a jumping puzzle and then they just walk off and they plummet to their death. That's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, and what we've seen in this match as well is that sometimes you can use the Teflon in really, really nice occasions.
Yes, absolutely.
For example, you could see our warrior here in this fight leaping into the battle, and he got Teflon at that moment, so it was like, woof,
they're excellent.
And he got pushed back. A really, really nice thing, but I think Carbine is now down to 3-4 again in the scoreboard, so there's really a lot of stuff going on. We should actually have started without armor. I think that's
that's a good handicap. You know, when we've got an elite PvP team and you know one of the best PvP spell slingers around, we should definitely make them not wear any armor in the future.
Yes, something unfortunately we have solved is that the Insanity team from Thursday, they were playing just with tier 1 amps.
Absolutely, yeah, they didn't have the full amps.
Tier 2 and tier 3 amps, and
that can make a big difference. You know,
that makes a big difference because there are 2 engineers in there, and engineer really relies on those amps most of the time.
Absolutely.
And so in this case, actually, your team has amps. I can see a pattern here.
Yes, they do have. They've got amps. They've used, you know, their builds that they're used to and things like that. Or, apart from our Stalker, who's actually, as his character name displays, first time playing Stalker. But he's kind of used a very typical, very standard Stalker build just to get around. The thing I was going to mention as well is, you know, what we're seeing here is we're slowly seeing, you know, people are using their abilities more. They're, you know, adapting to the battle. You know, the nice thing is when you're out of combat, you can switch those abilities around. That's the nice thing, you know, if one tactic isn't working, as long as you're out of combat, you can change abilities, you can, you know, swap that kind of stuff around. So, you know, perhaps, you know, maybe you don't need tether because the other team has got too many CC breaks or something like that. You can swap that in for maybe, you know, a bit more damage or a little bit of protection or healing or whatever you need to do.
And you have multiple action sets, that's a great thing as well. So you can just have to click a button and you have your
switch
new
to your second one.
And
absolutely.
Other stuff. At the same time, what you can see in here, because I know that Megan is not really a frequent engineer player.
No.
She's actually playing, like, when you start playing WildStar, we give you some small challenges so you can get used to the character and things. There's a reason why we have a leveling phase in WildStar.
Of course, you know.
And you really get to know and learn your character class while leveling throughout the game.
And even in PvP as well, you know, you gain access to PvP, you gain access to Battlegrounds at level 6, I believe. You get access to dueling at level 3. So even from an early stage, you know, if you're the type of player who really enjoys competitive multiplayer, you know, player versus player stuff, you can just get in and you can level up completely through PvP. You can gain rewards through PvP. So if that's your thing, you don't need to touch the leveling content if you don't want to.
And I can actually see Megan improving as well.
Absolutely,
because
of course.
She's now using her spells, especially when it comes to getting range, getting range, because she... What's the skill called again? I've forgotten the name, but
the jump back one.
The jump back one.
It's something like emergency something. I'm not an engineer, so I don't know.
She's now using it. At first, it was actually quite funny because she used it and it was like, "Ooh, I'm jumping against the wall. What's happening? Yeah, what's my character?"
But now,
doing?
the thing is escape abilities like that are so important because a lot of the combat in WildStar is engage, back off, engage, back off. You know, there's a lot of hit and run tactics to it.
Yes. So I think. Our Team Carbine can actually win this game. The
just with the slight handicap of no armor.
Oh yeah, armor sure. Right now. Tickets right now. So I think go Team Carbine. You can do this.
You can do it. You can score one back.
They're really concentrated.
They are. They're not speaking. They're not laughing. They're like, oh, we've got to win one. They're not wearing armor.
They're not wearing armor. We have to finish this because we're running out of time of the live stream. So
no, we should be good. I think by the time it finishes, they just need to finish off the last of these players, and then it's good to go.
Let me push them a bit, you know?
Yeah.
We have to motivate them. They have to
feel it.
They have to feel
I can see that Team Immortal Noctis have put their armor back on. So I think they don't want to lose. They've decided to put it back on and finish off Carbine. But maybe Carbine can bring it back. I mean, we've got a couple of like the very low health characters there. It looks like the medic is actually quite low, and with medium armor, if they bring some burst damage, they can really take him down. And even the warrior there as well, you know, low health. I'm beginning to think that Team Carbine, even with the armor, now that they've got that lead, they can actually bring this one back. And we can see the stun break there.
That's literally the fear and the anger in their eyes, which is currently working here. But now our Team Carbine is getting a lot of damage, and they're making the mistake that they're grouping. So they stand literally in every telegraph.
That was a good dodge there from Megan. Yes. She like dodged out of the way of that telegraph there. And then now they're trying to focus that target. They've seen that medic. They've seen that Aiko is on that low health, and they want to take him down. And they've still got one respawn ticket as well.
But to be honest, in this situation, you shouldn't focus on the medic. You should actually focus on the damage dealers.
Oh, on the damage dealer, yeah.
Yeah, and so the main problem that they had is that they started to slack again, and they actually stood there next to each other.
This is supposed to be your team. You're supposed to believe in them, and now you're saying all of this.
I'm sorry, I have a problem to sell
You've
this.
switched sides.
Yeah, I just switched sides, sorry.
And that's
I'm always for the European.
Oh, and it's now no tickets on either side. It's just our healer and the Stalker left. And I think that this might be going south for Team Carbine. Yumukon's doing his best to bring that damage to try and take this warrior down. Their Spellslinger's trying to keep him healed. He's getting away. He's using Gate there.
Sorry, I just remembered my job title. I have to be for the European team. I'm pretty sure about that. So. Yeah, it's actually nice
into one-on-one.
It turned into one-on-one arena.
I think Team Immortal Noctis have just stood at the back. They're regenning their heals. They're just kind of waiting this one out. And I mean, this is kind of a pity party now. I feel really awful. This is we've kind of brought lambs to the slaughter.
Yeah. So I think we will finish this game up.
Yumukon's just given up. He's just like, no. Oh no, he's coming back.
Yumukon is a sneaky person
because that warrior could be going down.
Oh my gosh,
he was luring him in.
One
hey, and there's another one down. So now it is just the Spellslinger. And he goes straight into the character waiting.
And I think Team Carbine will get their win. I'm really, really excited for my Team Carbine. Go Team Carbine, you're doing it right now. Team Carbine gets the win for the important last game.
Switcher. And the Immortal Noctis have now just stood there. And I think this is pretty much down to a concede. So that's pretty much it. I think we can cut away and leave that one. We all know what the result's going to be.
Yes.
And we finished off with a little dance there. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much all of our time for today. Thank you. You want to see the dance? No. We've just got Morgan talking in our ear, telling us that he wants to see his stats at the end of the match. So it's been an awesome day here at Gamescom, I think.
Yes, it has been an awesome day. We have one more presentation to go on Sunday.
Yep,
what
we are doing. So on Sunday we are doing. I've called it Housing Extreme Makeover Home Edition, and that's going to be with me and Megan. We're going to be looking at a lot of the housing stuff in WildStar. We're going to be checking out plugs and different plugs and decor items, and we're going to be looking at things called expeditions and things like that as well. We might be showing off, there might be hidden in our housing live stream, a couple of new housing items that haven't been talked about yet as well. So if you are the keen-eyed among you will be able to spot them. But yeah, so that was a little bit of PvP, fun PvP WildStar action, and we're going to be wrapping it up. If you'd like to know more, follow us on Twitter at WildStar. You can also go to wildstar-online.com. Is there anything else I should add? I don't know.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for all the people at the booth, at the live stream. Thanks for our devs for getting destroyed and
for trying.
For trying.
We need to get them some gold medals, I think, or golden stars. But yeah, thanks very much, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.